Hello, good evening, good afternoon to South Africans, good evening to those in Cambodia. How are you keeping today? My name's Andre, this is Peppers Echo. Yeah, thanks for joining me. For those who are watching live, thank you very, very much. For those who are catching me on the rerun, thank you very, very much as well. And then most of all, there we go. Please like and subscribe. It's the only way that I can get my message out. Share it and like and subscribe. I would really, really very much appreciate it as such. It's been a long week. Wow. Nothing much in the news as such, except for news. But yeah, it hasn't been a hugely newsworthy week. Not that I've had too much time to put my finger on the pulse as such. I've had quite a hectic week and I am blasted tonight. So today I'm going to offer you a perfectly discounted 1/2 hour of Peppers Echo. I haven't even put a slideshow together this time. So I'm just going to be trawling along the pages. We're going to take a look at a few things. I want to take a look at Andre de Ruyter of Eskom hits back. I want to take a look at was it de Ruyter hitting back? There was a guy that I looked at now. Magashuli's supporters wanting to shut down South Africa and the distribution of vaccines not being rocket scientist as per Archbishop Makhoba. Then there's also doctors that advise that you should not travel straight after receiving your COVID vaccine shot. So yeah, and then we'll do a little bit of trawling along Twitter, so we'll do a bit of a tweet beat as such. However, let me first get to it. Yeah, Peppers Echo, basically, dude on the outside, looking inside, trying to figure out what the hell. WTF from Peppers Echo. No researching, no hectic analysis, just actually trying to look at the news and figure out, as a normal man in the street, what the hell is going on over here. Trying to make it easier and hopefully having a bit of discussion with you guys. If you've got any points or anything to bring up, I would really, really appreciate it if you'd like to come on the show. If you would like to have a certain topic discussed, doesn't have to be political, can be political, doesn't have to be political, doesn't have to be South African, can be South African, can be Cambodian, anything, anywhere in the world, or South African as such. Please give me a shout at peppersecho@gmail.com, PEPRSECHO. Yes, there is no double P and there's no E after the P. It is as such so. But yes, drop me a mail and let me know if you don't want to come on the show and you just want to have a subject looked at or discussed or chatted about. Please give me a shout as well. I once again do not claim to be an expert in any fields whatsoever. Any of my materials that I look at are not owned by myself as such. And I just try and create a few questions, give a couple of opinions as a everyday Joe in the street looking from the outside inside. If you want to go and dive deep or take a deeper dive, I always give you a little bit of advice to go and take a look at a Ronaldo Gous, go and take a look at Chris Wyatt, Joe Emilio, Roman Cabernac from Morning Shot, and last but not least, Germ from Germ Warfare. He always has a couple of really, really good guests to interview as well. But go and take a look at Ronaldo. I am also still holding and hoping even more so that we would get Ronaldo on the show, which he did agree to. But I know he is hectically busy at this very moment. I know his week hasn't been any easier. He did give me a response, but I know he did I think week before last, he actually had his re-interview for his job contract as such as well. Well, he's still working there, so he does seem to be keeping his job. And yeah, it's just been hectic, so I don't want to overpester the man as such. But yes, so as I said, a little bit of a half an hour's time for Peppers Echo today. I am just had it. I've had a week and a half, and there are people off ill from school and people to replace at school, and it is quite hectic. couple of little changes and things going along. And then, of course, school is still closed. School is still closed. There are no children at the school where I work because because of COVID, obviously. And so we are still going into school, and teachers are still teaching online from school as such. But the children have not been at school this term, and the term ends at the end of April. I do not foresee us having children at school this term. We are really, really hoping to have them back the following term, but that also depends on what is happening with the COVID situation here in Cambodia, which, due to a certain one or two people escaping from a quarantine area on around about the 20th of February and going out into areas, has made it very, very difficult for the government, because they've suddenly started affecting people, and they've ending up picking up more infections as such. Funnily, not as much as what I have seen in other countries, etc., etc. I mean, it is still enough to worry about, and still enough to create concern and to put different aspects into place or actions into place. However, I've had, a 4-day lockdown. They found we have 3 buildings in our complex. And in one of the buildings on the 24th floor, they found a person with that had COVID. And for 4 days, all 3 buildings were locked down. We couldn't go to work. We couldn't do anything. If there was anything you wanted, you had to order delivery, and then they'd come and deliver at the one side. They had like 2 lines of red tape, and then the delivery person could drop off at the one side, and you'd stand on the other side, and they'd spray everything off and that, and then they'd bring it around to you, and you could collect it there. So that's the only way we could get stuff in. We got books in, fortunately. My wife could teach from home. I was fortunate enough to work at home as well. School was nice enough to let us do so, although it does put a lot of pressure on the school at the moment, because, you've got parents saying, well, my kid's not going to school. Why am I paying? And you are being taught. Your child is still getting every single class, but it is definitely different when you are teaching online and you are teaching a class online. So you're not got a one-on-one online. Yeah, you've got like anything from 15 to 25 students online, and trying to get everybody to keep their attention, etc., etc., is pretty hectic as such. So so we were locked down, and we were supposed to go for a 2-week lockdown. And luckily, they isolated it to the one building, which was our 3rd building, and we live in the 1st building, fortunately. So 4 days later, it happened the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the Sunday, they opened up. The Sunday evening, they opened up building 1 and 2. We live in the 1st building, so we were able to go, because I was ready to go mad already. I don't know how people live through a lockdown, because I was absolutely ready to lose it, just having to stay in my apartment for the time. We could walk outside and just walk around the parking area a little bit, but that was like almost being in jail and getting exercise hour. But then again, they did open up. However, the 3rd building has stayed in lockdown. It was supposed to come out of lockdown probably Thursday, Friday, and I see they still closed up. So I don't know. I think it's second tests and that have to go through as such. Cambodia has, I think from Thursday, last week Thursday, has imposed a curfew as well, from 8 p.m. in the evening to 5 a.m. in the morning, which they are quite enforcing quite, I don't want to say fiercely, but making sure that it gets enforced as such. It's something that 1 or 2 people have said to me would have been a good idea already, and it seems to be a good thing. I do feel sorry for our economy and the people, because a lot of the people, even though Cambodia has a very, very low unemployment rate, one of the lowest unemployment rates in the Asian countries and that as well, it doesn't necessarily mean that your people are all middle class and upper class earners. You have a huge poor class. So because everyone's employed, or most people are employed, doesn't mean that they're making the bread line. And you've got a lot of people employed and living under the bread line, $1 a day, $2 a day type of thing. And a lot of people with their little shops and their markets and the roadside markets are all very, very much reliant on trade, and tourism has been something that has been a huge loss and a knock to Cambodia as such. I read the other day that there was 99% down at Angkor Wat in Siem Reap, and that was on tourism that against last year. Now that doesn't only affect Siem Reap or Angkor Wat's entry, but it affects the tuk-tuk driver who will drive you around this business, 99% down. It affects the curio seller who sells little curios. It affects the food seller who sells around there. It affects the water seller. It affects the hat seller. Anything that is around Angkor Wat and has to do with tourism means that their business is 99% down. And I really, that makes me feel very sad and concerns me as such. Down along our riverfront, and that there are no tourists, no foreigners. Museums are closed at the moment. Cinemas are closed at the moment. Not a bad thing again, because they are jumping on this situation very hard, very fast, to prevent it from becoming an absolute out of hand fire in Cambodia. And I think they are succeeding at it as well, because currently in the Khmer Times I was reading that the recoveries are now higher than the infections, and we don't have huge infections. I can do a little bit of a share there. Let's take a look. Let's bring it in. There we go. Go to Cambodia. No, that's Vietnam. Cambodia. You're not going to see too well over there, but the infections currently we've got 1,017 cases, and you're probably going to go, oh, that's nothing compared to. Yes, it is nothing compared to a lot of other countries, but it's high for the fact of in Cambodia. Cambodia was running 2 months ago at probably about 16, 17 cases, or not even more than 24 really, and they shot up to 1,017 after an incident of a person leaving quarantine. And we've got 19 deceased within those 2 months as well, which is concerning. We had, up until about a month or two ago, 0 fatalities on COVID. And our recovery is 1,653. Look, our total cases have only been 2,689, but they are preventing the runaway of it as such, and people are needing to step up to it. And because probably it hasn't been stepped up to as what they want it to be, and needing to be as, astute about it, they've had to impose the curfew as well. But if you take a look, in the last 12 hours, we've only gained 44 more cases, but in the last 12 hours, we've also had 68 cases which have recovered. What amazes me is that a small country like Cambodia, and they've only just started going, we've got to get this stuff together, etc., has already done 296,000 vaccines. South Africa, who's supposed to have been like on the ball and on the job and is in serious need, has done 269,000. So Cambodia's doing about 30,000 vaccinations more than what a South African vaccination has been done. And I mean, there you're looking at 1.5 million cases against 2,000 cases and something. It's 52,000 deceased. We got like 19 on this side. It's really a concern when a country like Cambodia can actually outperform a country like South Africa. I don't want to go into news points and that too much more, but it's, yeah. And then obviously with the hope of being able to have schools and that open for the new term, frontline people, government officials, health officials, teachers fall under that as well, and need to get vaccinated. So guess where I'm going on Tuesday? Yeah, I'm going to be vaccinated. And I know there's like 1,000 people who are like, I will never let that get done to me. And well, you know what? I'm sure you've put worse things in your body between now and your beginning of your life than what you'll be putting in from a vaccine. And it's probably going to be necessary, because there was even a letter out from the Thai embassy that said, you know what? They'll cut your quarantine in half, And I think you don't need a healthy to fly if you have had a vaccination for at least a week or so before you have left, and you've got your little vaccination card that says you've had both your shots, etc., etc. But yeah, if it's going to make it safer, if it's going to make it possible for us to open the schools, and yeah, you know what, in this time and age, you are wanting to get rid of COVID. COVID's a world pandemic. Whether it's as big as what it is, whether it's not as big as what it is, it has affected the world, whether we like it or not, in one way or another. If it's affected it media-wise, if it's affected it hysteria-wise, in South Africa, if it's affected it corruption-wise, it has affected it as such. So, yeah, I'm going for the shot. I do believe the shot we are getting is Sinovac. I think it's a Chinese one. So if you hear me giving Pecker's EPCO in Mandarin next week, do understand the shot has had repercussions. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it's going to be fine. There's millions of people that have had it already. And I do believe we've ruled out the fact that there are no more, there are not going to be little micro robots in it and 5G trackers in it, and that the rest of my life is not going to be tracked and watched and everything like that. And who do I think I am? Am I that important that people really want to track me? Really, I have a Pepper's Echo show that just echoes the news and things that are happening around. It doesn't do anything more than what is said. I don't create it. I just shout it from the rooftops as such. So yes, I am going to be going for the jab on Tuesday. Maybe get some photos taken. I hated having my finger pricked for my work permit. So everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to do the jab? How's your reaction going to be?" I don't mind a jab in the shoulder. Just don't prick my bloody finger, please. Please leave my fingers to myself. Anyway, I suppose I have given enough shout outs on that. Let's take a look at what's happening in the news. We have had some. Oh, I don't want to go through a whole lot of stuff over here. Just on News 24, there's a chap shouting, distribution vaccines, not a rocket scientist. Archbishop Makhoba slams government. Anglican Archbishop Thabo Makhoba has criticized government's vaccination program, saying the poor would be left behind to suffer in the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the way of the ANC, buddy. They only care about themselves. Some guy, I haven't got into this, mastermind wife of Paul Fighter hotelier, allegedly offered 400,000 for his murder. She's behind it somehow. South Africa repatriating citizens following the Mozambique attacks. I'm not too sure on that, so I haven't pulled up much on that either. Frank Mdlaloso was a giant leader of the People's KwaZulu-Natal Premier. 3 people, including a child. Very, very sad always when a child is involved. Not that anyone's life is any less. Killed in the Popo crash. What's in the whiskey box? Mpumalanga trio alleged colluded to bribe prosecutor. More royal drama in Amakosa Kingdom. Northwest police launch manhunt after motorist killed while trying to fix a puncture. Really? And we've got IOL. Make it readable for you. So SA in top 20 for women in senior government position. Really? I'm not against women in positions, but I just find that there's so much more important stuff in this world right now, and they're, get a team, put it together, do the thing. But they're concentrating on PR instead of getting the country right. ANC, if you can stop your PR propaganda and actually do some work. Cape Town ratepayers, brace yourself for rates increase. Former IFP national chairperson, this is the IOL, yeah. Former IFP national chairperson Frank Mdlalosi was outstanding servant of SA, says Buthelezi. Government must show science behind booze sale ban, says liquor industry. Yeah, because what happened? Old Lipsenduk. What's her name? Lipsenduk. Because all you check is Lipsenduk. NDZ. Nkosi Dlamini Zuma. She came out, I think it was the Wednesday. Because, first of all, South Africa, well done. You're not allowed to buy liquor from any liquor outlet for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. This is going to stop people drinking over Easter weekend. Trust me, the people who don't care about it are not going to worry about it. And those who have the necessity to overindulge in excess alcohol are going to stock up enough before Friday. But anyway, so she comes out with an absolute Duk brainwave because of saying, no, you can't transport alcohol now. You may not privately transport alcohol. So basically, if you wanted to go on holiday over the long weekend, so you go to your little holiday house at the dam, or you're going to go camp at the dam, or you want to go visit a family in another province or something like that, and you're going to go and braai, you can't pack your case of beers into your car and transport it as such. I mean, how thick can you get? Fortunately, I think somebody must have told her, tap, 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 this is not going to be possible because you got 60 million people in South Africa, of which at least 30 million are people who like to braai and are going to be going somewhere or doing something, and they are going to transport, and we are going to have a shit show over here. So the next day, Lipsenduk went, no, you can transport now. But yeah, what a lot of pot I have. Pope Francis slams weapons spending in times of pandemic during Easter Mass. KwaZulu-Natal team discover most mutated COVID variant. And I don't know what the hell that looks like. Brand new drip. Who dis? Sumzi goes big with camo-inspired new look. Yeah. Hey, look at the Daily Maverick. Daily Maverick, what have you brought up for us? As I say, today I have not done much preparing. God help us. Could religious gatherings cause a COVID resurrection? No, I do not believe so. I think religious gatherings should be and are responsibly conducted compared to some of the gatherings that are not even supposed to occur. But yeah, I think we're clamping down on the wrong sections. Gupta's looks set to slip through Zondo Commission net. Yeah, I don't think you'll get the Guptas. And I don't know if you're going to get Zuma in the end as well. He's going to be the first person who can tell South Africa, the South African government, the South African law and everyone to go and themselves. Propaganda matters in psychological battle for the president of the ANC. News and reports from around the world. Yeah, Total decides on a total recall of all staff from troubled Afangi gas project. Brave new era as Bavuma plans to lead Proteas to promised land. I don't have it on the news here now either, but did you guys hear about the fact that they were talking about privatization or private investments on the Springboks? I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea. Some people are like, oh, you can't take it away. It's owned by the people. The Springboks the Springboks are being destroyed by the government. And I think the sooner we actually privatize the Springbok and get a private company and go, right, guys, these are the Springboks and they're owned by a company, and we can forget about government fingers in these pies now. But I think it's the same as everything else. I don't know if the government's going to want to let go of anything that they could ravage the country with. But I would hope to say that, just a personal opinion, privatization of the Springboks, I'm voting for it. But I just did read it somewhere along the line as such. Right, let's get up to what we're wanting to look at. Spurious, defamatory. Eskom's de Ruyter hits back over claims of abuse and racism. So last week we actually did something on de Ruyter from Eskom, the new CEO of Eskom. And we are sort of hoping that something will occur from having him in Eskom. And he seems to know what he's doing. Yes, give it the due. He's new, but he seems to know what he's doing. But he has booted the chief procurement officer who has now laid racism charges against him. And I'm actually pleased he's hitting back about it. Just a couple of top ones. In wide-ranging affidavit to Parliament, Scopa, Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter rejects racism and abuse of power allegations. He reveals how his accusers suspended Chief Procurement Officer Solly Chitangano, ignored legal advice to suspend billion-rand fuel contract. The affidavit is in response to decision by Scopa to investigate Chitangano's claims. Now, I want to say that this could have prevented load shedding, but it could have prevented a lot of expense on power and power usage. I think South Africa, I stand corrected, is facing 27% increase on electricity this year. It's absolutely madness. And the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, and the middle class are being destroyed because they are not able to keep their head above water anymore. And that's the whole thing about the ANC. We destroy everything to absolute trash and rule over the trash, and we call that success. That is still something that I say is a bad policy of the ANC. If we can make everything trash and rule over the trash, we are successful. Terrible outlook, and that's the outlook, I'm sad to say, the ANC has. But let's get back to Eskom CEO Andre de Ruyter has hit back at allegations of racism, abuse of power leveled at him by suspended Chief Procurement Officer Solly Chitangano in an explosive 53-page affidavit to the Parliament this week. So according to de Ruyter's affidavit, which was deposed on Monday, sent to Parliament Standing Committee on Public Accounts, Chitangano only raised the allegations against him after discussions around his alleged poor performance were raised. So once he actually got this guy and said, hey, bro, you're like pocketing tons of money. Yeah, you're this like chief procurement officer, and your performance has a lot to be discussed, to be desired, which, yeah, is a problem, guys. When that performance is a performance problem, why are we putting... I'm sure that guy was getting some backhand, because let's read on. The committee announced earlier this month that it was launching, and only after he said to this guy, hey, I'm calling you out as a bad apple. Then, guess what he went? He pulled the race card. What? Racist! No, he is white, but he's the CEO of Eskom and has a job to do. And what he does, and if he gets it right, will affect and alleviate the whole country of the pain that this freaking imbeciles are putting the country through when it comes to electricity. The committee announced earlier this month that it was launching an investigation into the allegations of racism and abuse of power against de Ruyter. The allegations were made by no other than Chitangano in correspondence to Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan and to the committee. In the affidavit, de Ruyter said the allegations against him have hampered his ability to run Eskom. And I'm sure they are, because you're now trying to investigate bullshit again. I cry bullshit, definitely. Basically, subsequent energy spent, the allegations and energy spent in dealing with them have seriously hampered my ability to properly and efficiently conduct my duties. In effect, a simple and straightforward operational issue dealing with underperformance has been elevated to parliamentary level. De Ruyter labeled Chitangano's accusations spurious and defamatory, adding that there was no justification for the time and resources poured into dealing with the matter, which is once again an ANC problem. Once you got something, you've got to call it sometimes. But no, what we do is we pay people copious amounts of money to go and sit down in a forum or get together in a meeting, order Nando's chicken and sit and talk around a table to get nowhere. Right, he accused Chitangano of failing to meet key performance areas. Okay, this is the accusation, including saving Eskom money by negotiating different payment terms with multinationals. I've worked for a company where the buyers and the planners and buyers are like harsh on your suppliers. They bleed them because they want the best deals. They want the best deals. They want the best payment terms. And if you get a Chitangano who's just taking it in there and he's not busy negotiating and he's not pushing it and he's doing it on behalf of the country, but I think he was doing it on behalf of his back pocket, and he's now been caught. Given Eskom's dire financial situation, it made little sense for Eskom to diligently make payments to large multinationals within 30 days. That's crazy. That is crazy that a company as big as Eskom has to pay within 30 days. They should have 60, if not 90 days of payment. Maybe if you did it within a 60 day, you should have 3 months. They should have at least a 90-day payment and maybe a discount if they paid within 60 days. but they're paying within 30 days. How much reason does that make? You don't get to keep your money in the bank. What you really need to do as a business is you need to do your purchase, make your money from the purchase, and when you've made your money from the purchase, then pay out of the profit so that you do not lose your money. Basically, what you're doing now is you're buying and you're paying out of your current resource. It's simple business economics, but yes, and that's what you've got to be able to negotiate. This guy, like, paying large multinational companies, and he's not talking about the everyday Joe in the street, large companies with lots of money, you're paying within 30 days. That is nuts. That is absolute nuts. In other organizations, these processes are typically driven by the CPO, according to which is Chief Procurement Officer, just for those who don't know. According to Mr. Chitangano was requested to investigate, Accordingly, Mr. Chitangano was requested to investigate and, where appropriate, engage the suppliers in order for the appropriate extension of payment to be made. Mr. Chitangano failed to do so and has instead sought to devise justification for his failure to secure savings from Eskom. He's basically, no wonder Eskom's broke, is because they're not making the money to be able to pay. They're paying from savings and resources. No, you can't do that. I mean, I have a friend with a business, and he's got no company, no government company can't get anything because he's not BEE, he's one-man business. And but the businesses that he does, and then he gets a biggish company that owns a couple of branches that he services and they say to him, okay, Boot, we only pay after 30 days, or we only pay after 60 days. You want our business? This is how it's going to work. He's a one-man band. He can hardly carry that, but he's got to sit and bow and say, okay, fine. Now you've got a tank like Eskom going, we'll pay within 30 days. Really? Really? I didn't even pay my Edgar's account within 30 days. Anyway, another story. So at the center of Chitangano's allegations of racism is Econ Oil, a fuel oil supplier to Eskom. Econ Oil, big company. Chitangano, in his publicly circulated letters, accused De Ruyter of flouting internal governance controls in this bid to ensure that Eskom's Supplier Reconsideration Committee suspend Econ Oil from Eskom's supplier database. So De Ruyter said, well, suspend it. But De Ruyter points out Chitangano is facing disciplinary charges for failing to take steps to investigate alleged overcharging and corrupt practices by Econ. You should be going apeshit if that happens, because you've got a company who's not functioning, who hasn't been able to function, who's hemorrhaging money, and then you're being overcharged and corrupted by a huge company. I want to say multi-million-dollar, but it's probably a multi-million-rand company, and you failed to actually do any investigation on that. Chitangano should be fired. Econ has won successive contracts worth billions, so there we go, multi-million was right, of rands from Eskom to supply power stations with fuel oil since the early 2000s. Econ director Nothemba Mlozi last year launched a criminal defamation case against De Ruyter. You see, all of a sudden, you get one person who can do right, and the money isn't flowing into the top pockets anymore, and there's a problem. De Ruyter reveals his affidavit that Econ was awarded further contracts with a combined value of roughly 8 billion rand, approved and facilitated by Chitangano, despite him being aware of evidence against the company, including a forensic probe by a law firm, Bowmans, that recommended Eskom suspend its contract with Econ immediately. Obviously, there's a little bit of money going around into different back pockets. We're paying you billions within, or millions or billions within 30 days. Of course, you can afford to give the discount back to the procurement officer. You're not giving it to Eskom, but I can give you a couple of million kickback, give you a house, give you a car, whatever. I can make it go under the table too. And guess what? When somebody finds us out, we call racism. Eskom is now seeking 1.2 billion back from Econ for alleged overpayments. How's that? Probably in Chitangano's back pocket. And that's just a dig at him. I'm not saying it's news. Chitangana, meanwhile, has sought to draw attention to alleged irregularity of Bowman's appointment. Those are the guys who said, "Whoa, you can't do that," and has used the debacle as the focal point of his allegations that De Ruyter was giving white-owned companies preferential treatment. He is also accused of delaying inexplicably meetings where the issue of Econ's suspension was due to be discussed. Chitangana also specifically cited Switzerland-based ABB as an alleged example of white-owned firms receiving preferential treatment, saying the company had amnesty from Eskom in comparison with the efforts to recoup funds from Econ, a black-owned company. They're trying to recoup funds from an overpaid, overcharged, corrupt company. Doesn't matter who owns the damn company. And if you didn't overcharge and you didn't corrupt and you weren't greedy and you were probably not getting kickbacks from the others, and this one was feeding you, buddy. ABB and Eskom reached a 1.5 billion settlement agreement. De Ruyter points out in his affidavit, which was paid on the 23rd of December 2020. Great. Plainly, such a settlement does not amount to an amnesty, and this agreement benefited Eskom in that it did not have to incur substantial legal costs to recover a significant amount of money, De Ruyter's affidavit says. So you make business decisions, especially when you're trying to fix those of a chief procurement officer. De Ruyter further explains that the rationale for not seeking to suspend ABB's contract at Kusile Power Station and why he wrote to National Treasury on the 5th of December 2020 to seek guidance on the way forward. I explained that Kusile Control and Instrumentation project was at the time more than 90% complete, and owing to the bespoke nature of the required equipment, cancelling the agreement with ABB would significantly delay the completion of the project. Makes sense, doesn't it? We're load shedding, damn it. We're bleeding. I explained that such cancellation would raise the risk of load shedding, create claims for the delays from the contractors, and may result in billions of rands of nugatory expenditure. Sorry, I'm not too sure what that means. I'm not that clever, but anyway. But obviously additional and non-required expenditure. De Ruyter and Eskom are yet to receive a response to the letter from the Treasury states. Chitangana also cited Ruler Construction, where De Ruyter had again intervened to question why the company was not given an opportunity to respond to allegations against it. Ruler Construction was eventually suspended from the supplier database for 5 years. Mr. Chitangana's insinuation that under my authority, Eskom treats white-owned entities differently from black-owned entities is entirely without basis, De Ruyter's affidavit read. It's amazing that when you are stirring the pot with a huge spoon, that you've surely the country needs to realize now, when you start throwing race cards at things being repaired, you are out of options. You have no leg to stand on because you're not arguing facts and you're not arguing substance anymore. You're now trying to save your ass. As an example of commitment to root out corruption, no matter who was involved, De Ruyter said that under his leadership, 1.5 billion has been recovered from ABB for overpayments on Kusile projects. Now that's obviously brought. I mean, why would a company as big as Eskom overpay? The people who are in charge of overseeing payment, drawing up contracts, negotiations, how are we overpaying? That a CEO has to come in and intervene because somebody is not doing his job. No wonder he's been suspended. 177 million was recovered from Deloitte Consulting. How's that? 108 million claim has been instituted against PwC Consulting. 3.8 billion claim was instituted against members of the Gupta family and other former Eskom directors. Instituted a claim of 1.2 billion against Econ Oil for alleged overpayments. And this is running on a procurement officer, chief procurement officer, who's allowed this. You must be pathetic at your job to allow that, because I can show you people in retail storerooms who would stockrooms who would do that, retail merchandise departments who would do better at Eskom. Anyway, De Ruyter's affidavit is extensive and deals comprehensively with Chitangano's alleged transgressions, which include sweeping range of charges that show he allegedly failed to perform his duties expected of him. I think the rest of the world can see he failed to perform duties. He also revealed systematic corruption and lack of financial controls at Eskom. He repeats examples of contracts he found when he arrived at Eskom, where a liter of milk was bought for 21 rand. Single-ply toilet paper for 26 rand a roll, and black refuse bags purchased for 51 rand each. But financial controls were further subverted. De Ruyter explained, including a purchase of bearings from Matla Power Station for 408,770 rand each in February 2019, where the same bearings were previously purchased for 110,632. Guys, just get him out. He's a racist. Before we have to start saving the country money and we can't line our pockets. A lot of bullshit this man's pulling out. Also, Matla hydraulic oil pump was purchased for 650,000 in February 2019, a pump which 3 years earlier had cost 294,000. At Kendal Power Station in March 2019, 368,000 was paid for the refurbishment of 2 compressors, a job that was twice subcontracted and completed for 41,400, while the cost of a new compressor amounted to 56,000. So let's call it 100,000. Where's the other 200,000 then? These transactions, De Ruyter says, were examples of free text procurement for goods and services up to 5 million, which made up the bulk of Eskom's transactions. Chitangano alleged in his letters that De Ruyter unilaterally changed systems in the procurement, but De Ruyter defended this. The free text procurement basis, De Ruyter said, meant that a person using the internal Eskom SAP system could type in descriptions for items which did not match any contractual commodities in order to evade the system's built-in contract prices. So basically, when you have an ordering system or something like that, and you have a procurement system, usually items are obviously by the right people programmed in and said, okay, I can buy that, and it throws out your price that you can buy it at, and I can buy that, and it throws out your price. This has obviously been, oh, I can type in my own one with my own price, and a little bit of a problem. Under such systems, items do not have to be purchased from a list of suppliers, so you're now buying out, who have been approved as cost-effective. Instead, items can be purchased from any supplier and at any price in order to avoid contractual agreed prices, often to corrupt purpose. I just want to go back there again. A liter of milk, 1 liter of milk, guys, 21 rand. A single-ply toilet paper at 26 rand a roll. Now, I know inflation is causing groceries to go up, but that's ridiculous. I mean, what do you wipe your ass with gold? But anyway, and then refuse bags at 51 rand each. Guys, that's nuts. De Ruyter said that when he joined Eskom, he found that approximately 75% of procurement was being done on a free text basis, which means they were typing in and buying out, not from preferred approved purchase buyers. So these are the guys you're going to buy. These are the prices they've quoted us. These are acceptable. But they were obviously buying from their buddies and giving them, oh, we've got government money. This is Eskom. You can't sink Eskom. You need electricity. But Eskom's sinking. And it's not hemorrhaging Eskom. It's hemorrhaging the country. I intervened, and this number has now declined to approximately 8%, from 75% on a free text basis, buying from unapproved companies at cost-effective prices. They're only buying out 8% now. Chitangano's complaint to Scopa, De Ruyter states, was further dereliction of his duties to prioritize the interests of Eskom. Mr. Chitangano's allegations are entirely without merit and appear to be an attempt to subvert Eskom's internal disciplinary process, most egregiously by raising these allegations at this point in time. Mr. Chitangano has frustrated the committee's ability to consider Eskom's annual financial statements, procurement process, and investigations into irregular expenditure at Eskom. De Ruyter's affidavit reads. It is also noteworthy that while seeking to impugn Eskom's conduct with regard to its contracts with ABB and Black and Veat, and despite substantial evidence that Econ has overcharged Eskom and engaged in corrupt practice, Mr. Chikangano has rewarded Econ with further work after proved, and has frustrated Eskom's investigation into Econ's wrongdoing. De Ruyter will also be subject to an internal probe resulting from Chikangano's claims. Eskom announced on Thursday that advocate Ismail Semenya had been appointed to lead the internal investigation. Okay, so I've gone probably a little bit further than where I wanted to go. I wanted to finish in a half an hour's time, and I want to follow this Eskom thing because Eskom is costing the country money. It hasn't been maintained, and it hasn't been maintained, and it's hemorrhaging money, and you can't close Eskom. You can't end up even like an SA. You can't say, oh well, there's other places that fly. SA can't fly. You know, Eskom is the only power manufacturer that there is. Although I think the Northern Cape they were going to give, or Eastern Cape they were going to privately contract somewhere, but couldn't or didn't. But however, I do believe that the privatization of Eskom would be a far better option for South Africa than having the government keep its grubby paws. And as we can see, they've got people like Chikangano, who's now in suspension. You can absolutely see, I mean, it's not difficult to see, procured by typing in, buying from non-approved buyers. Obviously, every company does have that, so that when there is something that you need to get out of hand, that you're able to get it. But you should be using a huge percentage. At least a 90% of your purchases should be by approved, contracted, negotiated prices and companies. 75% was being typed in. Oh, we'll buy from there. No wonder you're getting 26 Rand on a toilet paper, 51 Rand on a rubbish bag. It's 21 Rand on a liter of milk. I mean, please. And then you've got 1.2 million corruption and overcharge by a company, and then give them work again. You allocate more to them. Obviously, it's good for your back pocket, but are you actually working as a civil servant to the country? No, you're doing exactly what the ANC does. And obviously, the bananas that they put in there before were also just trying to shove as much money into their back pockets. Now you got somebody like Andre de Ruyter, be he white, be he black, be he Indian, be he colored, forget about who he is, what color he is, but he is actually pulling out millions of and pointing out millions of rands and wrongdoing and claiming back, putting in claims and getting claims in and trying to right the place. And guess what the guys who have been corrupting doing? They pull out the race card. Really? We'll follow this a little bit more. I'm actually quite interested because the country can't afford to hemorrhage anymore, not for the sake of Eskom, because when fuel goes up and electricity, utilities go up, food goes up, transport goes up, housing goes up, everything that uses power, anything that uses transport goes up. And that affects everybody. It affects the poorest to the middle class, and probably less your rich and shameless. Close off quickly. Doctors advise against, let me get this bigger. Doctors advise against traveling immediately after your COVID-19 vaccination. Was that massive ad there? Right, but if you... Washington, the coronavirus vaccine are welcome news to restless travelers. So yes, hopefully we can travel again. I'm counting on it. I really want to be back in South Africa for a visit. I'm not unhappy where I am, but I definitely would like to go and visit my friends and my family back there again. But if you're planning to take a trip as soon as you get your shot or shots, which I'm getting on with Tuesday, depending on which vaccine you receive, not so fast. Vaccinated individuals should wait at least 2 weeks after their last shot, according to doctors. And some countries and cruise lines are echoing for the call of vaccinated travelers to delay their visits. So, yeah, because cruises have been opened up again in certain countries. I think in the UK, US, I stand corrected, but I know that some cruises have been opened up. And some countries and cruise lines are echoing the calls for vaccinated travelers to delay their visits here. Medical experts say that 2-week time frame allows the vaccine to do its job. Our bodies need that time to develop both antibody and cellular immune responses, which are critical for protection, said Paul Sachs, clinical director of the Division of Infectious Disease at Birmingham and Women's Hospital in Boston. Sten Vermund, dean of the Yale University School of Public Health in Haven, Connecticut, said that while the first shot can provide partial protection, it is necessary to wait the prescribed amount of time to reach the highest level of immunity. To maximize the protection you get from the vaccine, you should be 2 weeks beyond your second dose before you expose yourself in travel or other somewhat higher risk circumstances, he said. The recommendation applies to Pfizer and Moderna's vaccines, which entail 2 shots, and Johnson & Johnson's, which feature a single dose. In addition, the vaccine's side effects might temporarily dampen any strong urge to leave the couch, much less run off to explore the world. The Center for Disease Control and Protection warns that the vaccine can trigger headaches, muscle pains, chills, fevers, nausea, amongst other discomforts. The effects can be more intense after the second shot in a 2-shot regimen, in notes. Some people are going to feel not great after the vaccine, said Emily Landon, an infectious disease specialist at the University of Chicago Medicine. That is really intended. It is the vaccine putting your immune system through its paces, like doing a trial run of combating COVID. The CDC recommends that all people, including vaccinated folks, avoid non-essential travel, though Transportation Security Administration figures suggest that the public is ignoring that advice. The agency has screened more than 1 million air passengers daily for almost 3 weeks. Healthcare professionals advise caution when traveling because none of the vaccines, who wrote this, are 100% effective against infection, and fully vaccinated individuals can contract and transmit the coronavirus asymptomatically. So you can say fully vaccinated individuals can contract and transmit coronavirus asymptomatically. There are millions of people who have been vaccinated, and if 5% of them get COVID, that would be a lot of people with COVID, Landon said. It's just not negligible yet. The rise in the variants also poses a concern because it's not yet clear how much protection the vaccine provides against those more highly transmissible strains. In good news, a recent study released by the CDC found that the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines cut down on asymptomatic transmissions. Even so, the CDC is urging vaccinated individuals to wear masks and socially distance when you're out in public. You don't know if the person sitting in seat 16B or 14A is at risk, said Daniel Kurtkes, chief of the Division of Infectious Diseases at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. We can't make such fine distinctions yet, so everyone needs to wear a mask. Another factor travelers will want to take into consideration is how long the vaccine will protect them from COVID-19, the illness that can be caused by novel coronavirus. Because the inoculations are so new, the lasting power remains a mystery. There is no way of predicting how long the vaccine will be effective for, Kurtzkes said. However, clinical studies participants who received the vaccine months before the general public can provide a clue, according to Landon. So far, protection appears to last at least several months. They had a head start advantage, Landon said. We can see if their antibodies start to come down. Based on this timeline, Landon said travelers can safely book a vacation for the summer and a few seasons out. But she advised every plan A should come with a plan B, or at the very least travel insurance. I would feel pretty confident in making plans for trips that are 6 to 12 months out, she said. But I would not get non-refundable tickets. Several countries and cruise lines are opening up to vaccinated travelers who have waited after their last shot. Visitors must show proof of the inoculation, which includes the date it was administered at the start of their trip. Travelers to Iceland, for example, must present documentation before boarding the plane, and upon arrival at Keflavik Airport, Belize is also asking incoming visitors for proof as is Slovenia, though the wait time varies by vaccine type. Before planning any travel visits to your destination's tourism authority website for entry requirements. Crystal Cruises, which will begin sailing in the Bahamas in July, is requiring proof of embarkation. Travelers on American cruise liners must also present their health record at the time of boarding. However, the US company, which extended its vaccine mandate for departures through April, only requested passengers wait 2 weeks after one shot, not both. So, going to call it at that, guys. So what we're wanting to do is, make sure that you do. I'm not going to say you must get vaccinated, but when you do choose to get vaccinated, remember to hang in there for at least 2 weeks or so before you actually travel, so that you can actually have your body build up the antibodies. Once again, vaccination, I'm not going to encourage you to go. I'm not going to encourage you not to go for a vaccination. I'm going to suggest you make your own calculated decision based on risk. And I'm going on Tuesday to have mine. As I said, we'll bring photos. And hopefully that makes our school safer. I've put a lot of things into my body in the years that I've lived. So I'm really, really sure the COVID-19 vaccine is not going to do anything hectically wrong with me. I might get a little bit of a rash. I had the flu vaccine when I was in South Africa once. I went, or the flu shot, I went from Nelspruit, which is like very hot area in the middle of winter, moved to Bloemfontein, which is absolutely pea cold in winter. And I said to my family, well, I just got married. I said, nobody is going to go without the flu vaccine because you guys don't know how cold Bloemfontein is. And when I got there, when I got to Bloemfontein, or everyone had had the flu shot, I have never been so sick in my whole life. I was down for a week with fever and goodness knows what else. I was so ill. It was just not funny. And that was from a flu shot. So am I concerned? Yes, I am a little bit anxious. You know what? Hopefully nothing does go wrong or anything to that effect. Do I think people are going to be tracking me and that is a world order? And no, I don't think so at all. I am not arrogant enough to think that I'm that important, that I need to be tracked. And Google does enough for that, and Facebook does enough for that. So yeah. And hopefully you guys will follow me enough to be able to do that. So yes, on this happy note, please like and subscribe. Thank you very, very much for watching this. I so much appreciate it from you guys. Please mail me if you would like to come on the show, or if there's a subject that you would like me to cover. I didn't cover very much else today other than the Eskom thing. I'm pretty interested in that at the moment because it does affect the whole country. We know that Ace Magashule has been given 30 days and his followers want to close the country down. What's it say? His followers, they will shut down South Africa if he has to step down. And he's like, move out there, guys. So, yeah. Anyway, from my side, guys, thank you very much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for catching this. Thanks for watching live. Be good. Take care. And, as they say, if you can't be good, at least be kind.